If you want to make a difference and leave a legacy, I would tell you to find a mentor and seek knowledge. And turn around, find someone else who needs a mentor, and continue to pass the torch. All right, we are on another episode of Pass the Torch podcast. Today we are here with Angie Sanchez, who is a past life regression hypnotist. She practices quantum healing hypnosis technique, and she's also a very talented artist and model. I actually got to see a painting right before this interview. So super excited to have you on Pass the Torch podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So the first question I always start out with is, what is your why for getting involved in health and wellness, for getting involved in painting and stuff like that? How did you get on your journey in the first place?
Okay, my why, I have a direct answer to that, but my why is helping people help people. So I recently attended an event where I saw all these people there. I was actually a guest of the speaker, and I saw these people there that were desperate to break through barriers on helping people. Like, they were so passionate about helping people, but they're like, how do I do this? So that's definitely my why. My work is mostly in spirituality and creating. So I've always been connected to the spiritual world in every sense of understanding what that means. And I guess now it's more bridging the two, bridging this reality where we create, opportunities for others, and connecting our reason why, I guess, connecting our purpose.
Definitely. Helping others help themselves.
People. No, helping others help people.
Oh, look at that. Helping others help people. I'm sorry. No, that's really cool, because that's like a selfless type of mission, and I love that.
Yeah.
So did this start in middle school? Did it start in elementary school? Like, when did you get on that path?
It's very interesting you asked that. I've actually no one's really asked when it started, so I had a lot of time to, play with the imagination and connect. I was taught prayer very early on, so I was taught to communicate with God or communicate with our guardian angel. As first time I can remember is being 3 years old, but having a concept of that connection from a very, very young age. And I always felt very alone and very disconnected from the people around me. So my connection was always the other side, was always the spirit world. And my dad passed away when I was 8 years old. So that actually solidified more of that yearning to connect with the other side, because my dad was now on the other side. Like, someone I knew in this physical body was now not available in this physical body. And I had that connection with him in that sense. And having been connected to that prior to 8 years old, I understood that he wasn't gone forever. And that's really interesting to think of an 8-year-old having that mentality, but that was where I was at that age. So throughout my teenage years, I was, going through the teenage stuff, like, in where I grew up, like, you smoke weed at 12, 13 years old. Like, it's like the norm.
Yeah, it's totally normal.
So I went down that path for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then at some point I started losing myself, and my father actually passed away from a heroin overdose. So I had a prayerful experience once where I felt his presence in front of me, and I felt him say, Angie, I don't want you to go down the same path that I did. Like, literally felt his presence in front of my body, and just felt, and I almost felt, I don't want to say ashamed, but I almost felt called out, Like, what are you doing? This is not your life path. Like, get your shit together, basically. Because I knew better.
Yeah.
So that then led me to want to discern a life in the Catholic Church, so becoming a nun.
Mm-hmm.
So I discerned that all through high school. And then after about 18 years old, I decided that wasn't my path. And then I went into Buddhism. Wow. And I practiced Buddhism for about 3 years. And then after Buddhism, I was anointed a priestess in an indigenous religion for 7 years. So, yeah, so I have, my connection has always been to that vibration.
Yeah.
Of prayer, of community, of chanting, of singing songs, of dancing. Like, that vibration has always been what makes me feel at home.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, after leaving that religion where I was a priestess, I realized that the vibration was always within myself and not me having to be in these different places. So what I'm doing now is taking my experience in all of these different realms and applying it in a way where it's empowering others versus having others feel like they need these different resources to feel whole or to feel found.
Oh, that's amazing. Because usually when you talk to people, they grew up in one religion or following, and that's all they've been exposed to. And you've been exposed to many different backgrounds, many different experiences, and so you're able to speak to each one of those and from a place of authority, which is really cool.
Yeah. And it took me a while to get there. Like, for about 2 years, I was in denial of any sort of religious structure. And, I was like, I don't want to be associated with that. I don't want anything to do with that. And now the last 2 years have been more about really embracing those tools and owning that space, because, we do go through certain experiences for a reason. So now it's really stepping into those shoes of being a leader because I have experienced what I have through my other in a religious organization, you have hierarchy, you have manipulation, you have fear, you have dependency, you have all of these things that is what keeps the structure together. So coming from that experience, it's almost like, all right, you have experienced all of this, so it's time to break those barriers for others, because you have experienced it firsthand. So it took me a while to embrace that role, but now I'm like, all right, I'm ready. Like, let's do this.
That's powerful. And in that role, is that what is the past life regression hypnotist? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, do you want to tell you some?
Yeah. Tell me about that, because I've never heard of that before, and I started reading about it, and I was like, wow, I did not even know that there was a field out there that concentrate on this. So I think that's phenomenal. But yeah, especially for the listener that's like, first of all, those are big words. What does that mean? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I'm trained in what's called quantum healing hypnosis. The lady who founded that, her name is Dolores Cannon. She has a lot of videos on YouTube regarding this. So I'm going to explain a little bit of what the bigger picture is. But in essence, I'm trained to travel through time and space to help someone go beyond this physical body and take their consciousness to different realms, different dimensions of their existence. So me personally, I don't necessarily believe in past lives. I believe that there are other aspects of ourselves existing at the same time. And through quantum healing hypnosis, through meditation, even something that someone can do at home, they're able to then travel through not only this body, but also experience different lifetimes. And sometimes in our awakened state, I believe that we do have flashbacks. Like, you can visit a place and be like, oh my God, this feels so familiar. Or like, taste a certain food and it triggers that DNA that's like, wow, I feel like I've tasted this before. Like, this just feels so familiar. So, or meeting someone, you're like, wow, I think I know you. Like, there's a connection. I don't know how or where or what, but that's where those different timelines crossover. So quantum healing hypnosis, meaning I have people come to me, we do a regression using a guided meditation. They're laying down. I then use that guided meditation to get them in a state of mind where they're really relaxed and tapping into that theta wave wavelength. And at that point, they're then able to just let their consciousness travel and penetrate through this reality and many other realities. And then they're talking about it, and I'm asking questions as if I were a reporter.
Yeah.
And while this whole thing is happening, I'm recording it, so they're able to listen to it later on. But the really cool part about what I do is the second half of the session, they're actually connecting with their higher self. So are you familiar with higher self?
I'm not. So I think I have a little bit of idea, but you're about to shed some light on it even bigger.
Okay. So higher self is, we all have this part of ourselves that is all-knowing, that is like, we know our life path, we know what guides us, we know the bigger picture.
Right.
We know why someone crosses our path. We know why we get into this dilemma. Like, we know there's a plan and there are choices.
Right.
But the conscious self is the one that's like, oh, well, what does this mean? Or like, but there is meaning and there is knowing to the bigger picture. So during the second part of my work, we are able to access that all-knowing self. So I have clients that come in with questions regarding their life, anything and everything you can think of, family, career, curiosities they have about dreams, like the list goes on. But they then channel that information without the conscious filter. So that information, it's fascinating because sometimes I am about to ask a question and they answer before I even ask. And sometimes I'll ask stuff about my personal life, something I did, yesterday, that this person has absolutely no idea, like, what my life is or who I am or anything.
Yeah.
And this collective consciousness is just knows,
I'm like, first of all, my mind's blown. Like, so when does someone say, hey, I need to have a quantum healing hypnosis session? Like, when do you most get your clients?
So because there are many practitioners out there, I personally believe that I attract clients that are going through a process of, like, there's got to be more to life.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So I've had one of my clients was a nurse, and she quit her job because she realized that they had a quota to prescribe pharmaceutical medication. Like,
a quota.
And so she's like, whoa, I studied for this. I'm here. I'm doing it. I have my job. I have benefits. I have all of this stuff, but this isn't, like, what is really going on here. This isn't my work. So she stepped out of that. I had a client who was a minister at a mega church here in Southern California. And he, was like, whoa, I see this. Like, I'm not about that. This is in alignment with me. I'm stepping out of this. And then, someone like that will come to me and say, hey, I know there's something more to life. Like, I don't feel this is true. What is this? So it's really people that are not willing to play the game of life in the way that some players want to play it, It's more people that are like, all right, life is on my terms. What is my true purpose? I feel like there's more. What is it?
Do you find people who are in the traditional religions, are they also people who'd be clients, or are they probably more closed off to perceiving this or being open?
In traditional religions, I don't think so, actually.
Yeah,
I don't think so. Yeah, a lot of my clients either grew up in, like, really strict religious backgrounds, and they no longer want to believe it or want to fully believe it. There are parts of it that, of course, I personally believe there are parts of religion that are beautiful. Like, I personally love the vibration of praise and worship in a Christian church or a Catholic church. I think it's a very beautiful vibration to live in and to be in, especially, if you can go twice a week or once a week, like, it's, and a lot of, pastors they sometimes are channeling messages for the people to hear. And so, I don't know that I've necessarily had someone that's like a strict closed-minded.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they wouldn't be coming to me, right?
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Yeah.
What's that?
Just in my personal experience as well, like there was a point in my life where if I was reading your bio, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't read this. Like this makes me uncomfortable. But now I'm like at a different point, you know. So I read it and I'm like, no, this makes sense, you know. And I look at the word quantum. That seems like it alludes to more of the science of how we are as people, and really understanding that science can also work in harmony with, even if people are, I say traditionally religious, I'm probably going to get in trouble for that phrasing, but it works hand in hand. Like being well and thinking good thoughts and having good vibrations and collectively, again, how you were talking about, that's all part of religion. And I think that seems like it's a part of quantum healing as well. Like just understanding yourself, understanding how the world fits with each and every one of us. I'm trying to really understand what that is, and my audience make sure they walk away with this with a full understanding.
Absolutely. You know, you said it boils down to having positive thoughts.
Yeah.
Even before having a meal, what we don't understand on a physical level is that when you have a positive thought about the food you eat, or even say grace before you eat, it changes the molecules of the food you're consuming. So therefore, the food that you're eating is now beneficial for you. And you're also, you know, some people say, bless the hands who prepare this food. That prayer is also then traveling to that person and gracing them with positive vibrations.
Yeah.
So that is the quantum in having, it's almost like breaking everything down, right? Like you say, have positive thoughts, but how does positive thoughts work? Positive thoughts work in vibration. So what is vibration? It's broken down to little molecules and little atoms, and it's just frequency being sent over. So, you know, someone that believes in prayer, how does prayer work? When I'm praying, I'm sending this vibration, this presence, this belief, this faith in Jesus Christ or an angel or whatever. Not whatever, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I got you.
To watch over this person and heal them and protect them and just be there for them. So there not only is there faith, but there's also an understanding as to how it works. Yeah. So I believe that's the quantum in it, because there's a frequency of positivity going out to that person, or, you know, again, to the food you're eating.
That's brilliant. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's one of the biggest, I'd say, setbacks if someone is open to hypnosis, but they seem like they're not getting the full effects of it? What's usually the biggest obstacle that's stopping them from really opening themselves up to the full benefits of what you do?
Ego.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, ego. I think a lot of people, you know, want to think they're this, like, grand person ready to take on the world.
Always. Yeah.
And they're on this grand mission, and you know, in essence, we all are, but it's broken down to baby steps, and it's broken down to simplicity, really. Yeah. So, you know, sometimes they want this, like, you know, grand result as to what there is to do in life, when the answer is very simple. And sometimes we hear those answers. For example, I don't know how you were inspired to start this podcast, but I'm sure it came in the form of an idea or thought.
Absolutely, yeah.
So sometimes the answers are in that way, but they expect this, like, big sign or this big, you know, thing that you're supposed to do it and you're the one to do it. But it's like, no, it comes in the most simplest phrases and in thoughts and in ideas, and then it's up to you to take action to create. Nothing's going to come just because, you know, you're the one to create this podcast. It's like, you got to put work, you got to set things up, you got to learn the skill, you got to reach out to people. Like, there are steps to do it. So ego is a thing that's like, oh, well, why isn't it happening? It's like, well, it's not happening because you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
You know?
It takes work, and especially when you're talking about any type of therapy or hypnosis, people, exactly, they expect immediately at the snap of your wrist, like, okay, the effects are going to be there. And so
Yeah.
would you say it's safe to say that this is more is a starting point then? So you come to a session, you start getting your mind prepped and primed for receiving how the new you, and then from there your efforts will actually progress to that.
Yeah, that's a way to look at it. Definitely, I find a lot of people that come to me are already on the way.
Okay.
They're on the edge,
Yeah.
and then when they have a session,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like the horizon has just opened.
Yeah.
So they understand the bigger picture. They get why they felt the way they felt. It's clear. And so I guess from then forward, then the changes start happening because they've opened that. They've knocked on the door, basically, and
Yeah.
they've walked through. Yeah.
Oh, that's huge. So you help them, obviously, through their situations in life, and then that enables them to go on and help other people.
Absolutely,
Now,
yeah.
that does, they can't help
People
themselves.
that come to me are very, I have a girl who drove down from San Francisco. I'm in Los Angeles, so she drove down from San Francisco, and she is like what she calls herself a happiness expert, but
Interesting.
I think she's working with Microsoft, like in Silicon Valley, she's like onto big things,
Yeah.
and so
Interesting.
it's more of those people that have these mission statements in the world, and they're just like, okay, I just need that little nudge.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the name of the book that I was just recently reading that reminds me. Stealing Fire. That's what it's called. I don't know if you've ever heard that book, but it talks about,
I don't think so.
and this is a kind of interesting concept, but it goes back to Prometheus, at times where they stole fire from the gods, and this is like a Greek mythology thing. But you reminded me when you talked about Microsoft, because I believe today more than anything, especially with us going back to the wellness and the more natural, like what is already present on this earth, which is us and everything that's natural to it, can do a lot for humans. Like we're manufacturing stuff that's really not helping us, and things as simple as coming back to the basics, like our thoughts, are really what are going to move us forward and start healing us. But Stealing Fire talks about all of that. It's like really understanding how we can better ourselves as a mankind, and understanding that we control our human potential.
Is that a new book?
I think it is. Stealing Fire.
I'm
Amazing,
totally in line
amazing
with
book.
that. Absolutely.
So I guess I need to, since I brought up Stealing Fire, they do, one of the big things they talk about in that book is Burning Man. So is that, have you heard of Burning Man before?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I live in Los Angeles.
Yeah, right. Oh, have you heard of Burning Man? Yeah, no. Like, so what are your thoughts on Burning Man? Like, what the whole mindset of going there, and again, it's kind of this mindset. Everyone goes there with the intent of building the city together and being creative and having to work with limited resources, and in the end, coming together as a people. Like, so you being a quantum healing, yeah. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Do they align, or is that okay? That's crazy. That's something else, and this is totally different.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get the concept. I get the philosophy behind it. I personally don't align with that for whatever reason.
No.
I don't feel called to escape my reality to build a city with people. I feel like I'm doing that already where I am. And not with people I don't even know. I feel like I'm connected to people, doing similar work to what I'm doing, or completely opposite to what I'm doing. I feel completely connected to these people. I don't feel like, no, I'm not aligned with that. I don't understand it. So
I mean,
I can't really say much about it.
Yeah, and it's the same, because when I first started looking at quantum healing, I was like, where what is this? And I think I understand both sides a little bit now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like yours is more focused in your life right now. Not exactly like you said. Like they go out in the desert and they're like, all right, this is a completely different world, and then they come back to your reality. And I love what you do.
I don't subscribe to that model. I don't subscribe to going to a retreat
Right.
and for 7 days or
Mhm.
I mean it's nice and it's helpful
Yeah.
and I'm all about like doing events for that, but not for the reason to feel the need to like do it
Yeah.
because you want to enjoy it, do it because you want the experience of connecting with people that are like-minded. But I don't feel the need to escape to gain something, or to have clarity or to have a vision. Like you can do that anywhere, anytime. You just have to really align yourself to that vibration.
That's awesome. Because I know people are they're gonna think about, oh well, Burning Man does this, and I don't want them to put you in the same camp, especially if that is different in the mentalities of how you operate.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I know so many amazing people that go to Burning Man, like firsthand.
Yeah.
Very creative people, very successful people. But again, it's just not my.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
It doesn't align with who I am or anything really. And I live here, like in LA, like it's a trendy thing to do,
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, it's on my bucket list. I gotta go check it out. But okay, very interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, definitely.
So you showed me a painting you had earlier. Like, so you've gotten to being an artist as well and a model. How did you get into that?
I painted since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I would have these really vivid dreams of different worlds, and my only way to explain it was to draw them or to paint them. So I have that still saved from, I think, the age of 9.
Yeah.
I did do a big painting that took me about a year to do, and after that I wasn't really that inspired to paint that much because it was a commission painting, so I felt obligated to do it and to complete it.
Mm-hmm.
And then just recently I started picking it up again. So the biggest obstacle I had to overcome is showing people my work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so slowly but surely I'm doing some work and getting started on that. So do you want to show your viewers what I'm working on?
Yeah, give us a
I guess
snapshot.
But they can watch on YouTube. So this is my
That's awesome.
lady that I'm working on.
So what inspired her?
So the practice that I was a part of, I don't know if you're familiar with, it's called Santeria.
Mm-mm.
So it's Afro-Cuban. It's African mixed with Catholicism religion. And when her name is Oshun, and she's the goddess of love and the goddess of prosperity and things like that. And so that vision of her came into my mind, and I wouldn't say it's her, but it's inspired by her.
Yeah. And I knew you were going to say that, but I don't want to come off as the weird guy like, oh, he's just saying that. Because, no, I thought you were going to say that too. No, it looks really cool.
Say what?
It's inspired by her.
You got it. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So you've gotten to art, and how did that get? How did that transcend into modeling? Did you pick that up at the same time, or when did that come to pass?
So modeling. Sorry, you cut off at the end there.
No, I was saying when did modeling come in? Because these are so different, but they're all about being positive and being creative. So I'm just trying to draw a picture.
Yeah. So modeling came when I was a teenager. Living in LA, I was fortunate enough to be on a TV show when I was like 8 years old. Mm-hmm. It was like a Barney type show.
Yeah.
And then 18, I started doing print ads. And then I've done a lot of commercial work and a lot of modeling. So I recently did a campaign for Disney. and then I did a campaign for a beauty company called Julep. And if you go to an Ulta beauty store, I don't know if you guys have Ulta where you are. It's kind of like a Sephora.
Oh, we do. Okay, yes, we do.
Okay, so yeah, so my face will be on the display of Julep Beauty at Ulta stores.
What?
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of like really big companies, Lego, Harley Davidson, American Girl, like a lot of different companies.
Never heard of them.
No, okay, you're all girly girl.
No, I'm kidding. No, those are big companies.
And then, yeah, I've done some commercial work and some short films and some feature films, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you continue doing that while you're also doing hypnosis, or these are all your passions?
So I've let go of the acting aspect of it.
Yeah.
I still do some modeling, just because it's fun and it's easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely an escape and keeps me accountable of my health.
Mm-hmm.
Not overeating, things like that.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It's fun, and it's always fun to like break out of your everyday scenario, you know?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've been involved in a lot of things, especially, and you've had hard situations from early on that a lot of people never would dream of having to face. Did you have mentors growing up that could help you through these situations, or did you have to go at it alone?
So I consider my awareness of our guides around us
Mm-hmm.
in the other world, my guides, my mentors, from early on, because they kept me out of trouble.
Yeah.
They kept me safe. They kept me grounded. They kept me from, someone who's had the upbringing that I've had would have probably ended up the same way. In my early 20s, I've met someone who I don't really consider a mentor, but he's definitely been a guideline. You always, I don't know about yourself, but you have that one friend that's achieved like all the things you hope to achieve one day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I have that person in my life that I know every time I see him, I'm like, I want to tell him all the great things I've done.
Yeah.
Not only to impress him, but to also be qualified enough to hang out with him.
Yeah.
So I have that friend, which I somewhat consider a mentor. At the same time, I love reading a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I love watching YouTube videos. I know you're a fan of Gary Vee. I love watching his videos in the morning. I love watching his videos when I don't feel like doing stuff.
Yeah.
Because it just keeps you accountable. So I consider people like that my mentors in a virtual sense.
Definitely.
There's great people that teach courses that are very informative, very insightful. So I find a mentorship in almost like pockets of inspiration. Like something this person said hit home, something this person said hit home. But I've never directly had a mentor.
Yeah.
I think I'm really truly on such a unique path in my lifetime. Yeah. And so it's really hard to connect with people that get not only who I am, but also where I'm heading.
Yeah, that's amazing. And yes, you're on a very unique path, and the fact that you said your guides, I've never heard an answer like that before, and I think it's very cool. And if anybody really opens up, because that's the biggest thing about when anyone goes and studies what you do, they have to really open their mind. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to receive what it is. They're going to close themselves off, and they're not going to win from that. But yeah, your guides, you're walking through life, and whether even it was only a short interaction at one point in your life, but if you're going down the street and you hear that whisper, or you feel their presence, it's the same thing.
Or you feel that, don't go there.
Yeah.
Don't go there. And then you listen and you're like, okay, and it saved you from something.
No.
So that was my experience. Yeah. I actually, quick little story if we have time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, perfect. When I was about, for my 21st birthday, we were doing a road trip we were planning a road trip to Vegas. I think the Venetian had just opened. And it was like a big group of friends, and something said to me, don't go because there's going to be a big accident. And so, it was kind of like this heavy knowingness of this. So I decided not to go. I canceled the trip. My friends went without me. And the same day that we scheduled the trip and my friends were on the way to Vegas, I got into an accident on my way to work.
Wow.
But it wasn't bad. Like, everyone was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't, like, I was alone. The car, I got T-boned. Or I T-boned a car, but she ran a stop sign.
Yeah.
So she was at fault, but she was okay. Like, we were all okay. We were, I was panicking, making sure everyone was okay, and I think we all were. But we were fine, and I totaled my car, got a new car. Like, it was just, it worked out for the best.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was all because of that feeling that you were able to pick up on. No, that's huge. That's huge. And hopefully people watching the show after today, they're going to, pay more attention to that and just not throw it off as a fleeting feeling. It could be something more significant than that. I've always been very big on stuff like that, and I haven't been able to put a name to it or really articulate what it was, but absolutely I'm a big believer in that, and it, yes, like since I was young till today, I've felt that. So very, very cool. Actually, there was a time, tell my closest family this, but it's kind of the same thing. We were in Japan, military brat, and we were trying to catch the school bus, and we were being dumb, and my little sister, she slips off the curb. So the curb, and then the school bus is right to the left. And I look down, and I'm like 10, 11 years old. I grab her with my left arm, just one arm, and swing her back on the sidewalk. And I don't know where that strength came from. I don't know how I saw that she fell, but that stuff can't be explained any other way to me. So yeah, I definitely.
Exactly.
You definitely. I'm gonna be studying quantum healing a lot more and past life regression and just trying to become a student of it myself. So.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, it's a great tool to understand it, but it's not necessarily just that. Like,
right.
If you practice meditation or just mindfulness, you're able to access that information anytime.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily have to be. I'm not about having it to be like this school of thought. Like, you can, like I said, take little bits from every place practice and really align to what makes sense to you.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay. If people are watching you, which I know they are, and they're like, Angie, you were awesome. How do I get you to become my mentor? What are your expectations for that relationship? What would you tell them?
I just am a teacher for all.
Yeah.
I don't really desire to be a mentor for anyone.
No.
But an example for all. So I try to live my life. I try to be a living example of what I talk about, and I'm always open to answer anyone's questions about anything. Could be mindfulness, spirituality, could be acting, modeling, could be, I'm scared, what do? I see you do, you put yourself out there, or how do you do it? Like, yeah. I'm open to answer any questions. I'm always open to have a phone call with anyone. I always say, like, 5-10 minutes, whatever you want, like, let's do it now.
Yeah.
So that would be my form of mentorship, but I don't necessarily desire to be a direct mentor to anyone.
Got it. No, that's awesome. And I mean, you're talking with me now, which is a great way for people to learn a little bit about you and understand what you're doing, and seeing you on Instagram. Again, like, you're being a mentor in those mediums as well. And we both watch Gary Vaynerchuk. He's not my mentor directly, but I will tell you right now, if anybody were to ask me, he is absolutely one of my mentors. So
Totally.
definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get what you're saying, 100%. And
Yeah.
it does take, you know, a certain commitment that if you're doing it for all anyway, everyone gets to benefit, right? Like rather
Absolutely.
if you're like, I'm gonna have 5 mentees, and now they're like, well, I want to learn from Angie too, but those people are gonna miss out.
Yeah.
No, I think that's really cool. All right, I'm going to ask you, what is a key resource, and I know the answer is going to be pretty interesting, that you use to contribute to your success? It can be an app, a book, just anything that you use that you feel makes you successful or gives you an advantage.
Okay. Did you say that you know the answer?
No. I know it's going to see. No, I can't really. I know the answer is going to be interesting.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So meditation.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
Meditation. This morning I woke up from a nightmare. I have a series of nightmares all the time, and I believe they're to not get me comfortable in this life. I believe that they're to remind me to stay awakened, to be vibrating high, to be open to receiving the ideas and the thoughts and the inspiration. And I woke up at 5 a.m. and I was like, just laying there thinking about this nightmare I had. And immediately I was like, okay, meditate. Because meditation, it helped me, one, calm down from that fear, that anxiety of the fear.
Yeah.
And two, also be receptive to why it is that I have these nightmares. So I believe meditation is a tool to help you be inspired and to help you know what is your next step, to help you know the truth from a lie. And for example, if you're listening to YouTube or just a conversation or a business partner, you're able to detect the truth from the BS. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So meditation would be the one thing that, one, it's priceless. Two, you can do it anywhere, anytime. And three, the benefits of it are just beyond our comprehension.
Definitely. I think we're, again, kind of going back to we're going full circle, but what is actually here already, we've already had it, natural to this earth. We've had these tools, and we're looking at technology for all the answers, and we have a lot of it. Right here. And I'll tell you, I am guilty of thinking meditation was like something that people who lived out in the forest only did, and that was just my ignorance. And I do my own form of meditation, but it is a game changer. It centers you, it focuses you. After a session, you're like, okay, I'm ready to take on the world, and your brain, which you only get one, it needs to be clear for you to be your best, and meditation is the way to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. All right, we're going to go into a deeper question, and I know I said this before, this is going to be pretty interesting as well. So, what is the biggest obstacle that you've ever faced? If it was helped with a mentor, tell us about that. And if you didn't have a mentor to help you through it, tell us about that as well. But like the biggest obstacle or failure or whatever.
Everyone's biggest, not everyone, but most people, their biggest obstacle is fear, and that was mine for the longest time. It was definitely deeper before. It's not as bad now. There are some fears still lingering there, but I didn't realize I had those, and that's the obstacle.
Yeah.
The obstacle is not knowing you have a fear of doing something, and that's why you're not doing something, or you're not liberating yourself. I think once you know it's a fear, then you have a tool to work with, right?
Right, absolutely.
So what brought that to my attention, and again, I take mentorship in pockets. So I was actually at lunch with a friend who is very successful in his own right. We went to high school together, and he's I believe he's not one of Nas's managers. So he's like in like that world,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I remember having lunch with him in LA, and we were talking about something, and he's like, Angie, you want me to tell you what is wrong with you? And I was like, what do you, kind of offended, like, what do you mean?
Wow.
And he's like, you know what liberates me? He's like, it's the fact that I'm not afraid to walk outside, step out on the street, and know I'm gonna get ran over. He's like, that could happen anytime. And he's like, what liberates me is that I'm not scared of that. And he's like, you're scared. And so that for me was like, because up until that moment I was like, I'm not scared. Like, I can do anything. So that, I don't even know how I responded to him, but that triggered that, like, what am I scared of? And why am I scared?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
so that was that moment that liberated me in so many ways.
Definitely. And people realize, hey, like, fear, I don't know if you feel the same way, but a lot of it is in your own daggone head. You're creating it. You know, you jump out of that airplane, you're like, oh, this isn't that scary. Actually, this is really fun. And then you realize that night before, you wasted all your time being miserable for an experience that was amazing.
Yeah, it's all perspective, right?
Absolutely. But it's huge. It literally controls people. And
absolutely.
If you can get past that, that's extremely powerful. So that's awesome. Fear is a huge one.
Yeah.
And you were able to get through that? Like, was that the conversation with your friend that got you through it, or you just said one day you made a decision that I'm not going to let fear stop me?
It started with a question. So it was, what am I scared of?
Yeah.
So that question I continued to answer every time I'd face an obstacle that I was afraid of. So no, I wouldn't call him to be like, hey, help me do this. He's like busy jet setting the world.
Yeah.
But I was definitely aware of the words he used. Actually, another school of thought that I subscribed to was you have to suffer to get what you deserve in the world. Like you got to pay the price, to get to where you want to be. Oh, yeah. I subscribed to that school of thought for the longest time also. And I had another friend who was like, Angie, like, he literally sat me down and was like, you do not have to suffer to get what you want in this world. Like, just know that. He's like, you do not have to. He's like, I don't care who told you this or what happened, but you do not have to suffer. And so that was another moment that, in the moment I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not suffering. But I was making myself go through all of these obstacles. And so later on, that was something that triggered that questioning of, why do I believe this? Like, why I don't need to cry, I don't need to like work this hard or I don't need to do these jobs that I don't really want to do,
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And those are like life-changing, situations where when you come with that face-to-face, you're like, all right, things are going to change now and they're going to change for the better.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. So what is a short poem or a passage that, especially when you're dealing with the nightmares and the hard times and maybe you are suffering again, what keeps you motivated? What keeps your passion on fire?
What keeps my passion on fire?
Do you have
just being.
Yeah.
But I think, so I have a mantra that I think of all the time, and that is love in my heart and peace in my mind.
Wow.
So I always say, even when I woke up from that dream this morning, it was like love in my heart, like feel that love, feel it, and then peace, like let it go. Just let go of those thoughts and that fear and just let it go. So that's my mantra. Even walking into a room of, decision makers or whatever, it's like love in my heart, peace in my mind, just feel it and let it go. Like this idea of I'm scared or, oh my God, well, they're going to think I'm this way or they're going to think I'm that way, like let it go.
Yeah.
So that's my daily mantra. not daily mantra because I don't do it consciously. It's just something that's helped me through one difficult moments and also in moments of like being called to show up.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Love in my heart, peace in my mind. If you can truly internalize that and, like you said, not let the voices of self-doubt and imposter syndrome show up and fear, like, yeah, you can focus on what the task at hand is and get stuff done. So,
Yeah.
very cool.
Exactly.
All right. We're at the end of the show. That was pretty nuts. It always sneaks up on us. But we're at the time in our program where our guest has 1 minute to pass the torch and leave a legacy. We all know that a mentor or a teacher of all, as Angie says, and I love that, is a person who has achieved a level of success that we desire and can effectively guide us to success as well. Based on the success you, Angie, have achieved at this point in your life, if you could pass the torch and leave a legacy message to your former self or anyone in any similar situation, how would you pass the torch in 1 hot minute?
Start now. Whatever it is that you want to do, whatever idea you have, whatever desires you want to do, even if you think they're dumb or won't lead you anywhere, I say start now. There's nothing more I can say, but start now.
I love it. Direct, concise, ready to go. I said direct, concise, and ready to go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you have been on Pass the Torch podcast with Angie Sanchez and Levante Santos, and we are reminding you to seek knowledge and pass the torch.